What's up, guys? My name is Sensor Turley, and in this video I'm just going to kind of be going over my wants and don't wants for Call of Duty Black Ops 3. So Call of Duty Black Ops 3 is kind of the saving grace for Call of Duty, okay? The past 2 years we've kind of had these odd, bizarre, I know a lot of people really didn't like Ghost, and for good reason, and then we got Advanced Warfare, which was just, you know, you either loved it or you hated it. It was kind of another weird one, so we're finally getting back to more of a basic, like, more normal Call of Duty that we're all used to, if that makes any sense. So it's pretty cool. I think a lot of people will like it simply because of that right there, that it's more back to more of a basic normal Call of Duty. But okay, so I'm just going to kind of talk about some of the things I kind of want, some of the things I hope that aren't in there and stuff like that. It's just there's a lot of things that Advanced Warfare did a little bit weirdly, and I'm not even going to go into Advanced Warfare in this video, okay? It's that's a whole different animal, so we're just going to talk about Black Ops 3. So, okay, so one of the big things is I want the guns to obviously be balanced, but I just can't get that across to people enough, that the balance of the overall gun and the way the actual mechanics of the game plays is, and by the way, I'm doing all this live, so I may just be walking around in circles while I'm trying to talk. It just kind of depends on what happens, but anything can happen. It's a live commentary here. So, okay, so one of the main things is just like how everything affects everything in a Call of Duty. That's the best way I can explain it. Like, you know, your gun balance is going to be affected by your time to kill, and your time to kill is going to be also affected by your movement, and your movement's going to be affected by the way the maps are laid out. There's so many different elements in a Call of Duty that affects everything, you know, and then people try to blame one thing on one thing or another, and they don't realize this actually is the cause of that, or whatever the case may be. It's kind of one of those things, like, everything affects everything. But the main thing is, first of all, you got to have your gun balance right. I mean, that's number one, probably one of the most important things. It probably is the most important thing in a Call of Duty, okay? But it goes hand in hand with the kill time as well. Like, if you have a really quick kill time, it's hard to have balanced guns, because it's like there's no one's got that much health, if that makes sense. It's like no one's got that much health, so then it's hard to make variations in guns. So then your outcome is you've got these guns that have to be different in some kind of way, and then you've got all these overpowered guns. It's like when you have no health, it's hard to make balanced guns, because it's hard to make, like, different guns, you know, some that are faster shooting, lower damage, some that are lower shooting, higher damage, that kind of thing. It's hard to make that when everybody's dying so quick. It's hard to make that those different attributes on the guns themselves, so then it's hard to have different guns, you know. So then the outcome from that is, you know, your overpowered guns. But that's really important. Like, the time to kill needs to be long enough. And I know this is not a Halo or something like that. I know the time to kill, you don't want to get in a duking match for like 3 hours with somebody. I understand it's a Call of Duty, but there's got to be some level of, like, certain amount of health you have, or, like I said, it's gonna make it hard to have balanced guns overall. Because, see, when you have enough health, it makes it to where it's less about the gun and it's more about your actual movement skill, you see. Because when you have more health, you have a chance to turn around and shoot somebody or do something like that. And I'm not talking like, you know, somebody sprays 5,000 bullets into you and they can still turn around and kill you. I'm not talking like that. I'm just talking like, I don't want these melting guns, you know, and that goes into tick rate and everything else. But I don't want these melting kind of guns and stuff. But that goes into saying, like, you know, your movement and everything, that becomes way more important when, first of all, you know, you don't kill as fast. That becomes way more important. And also, if your movement is not as sporadic as an Advanced Warfare, you know, that's if you get more to a basic movement skill where you're just kind of, everybody's kind of more so on the ground level, then it becomes more about how you're actually placing, like, where you're placing yourself on the map for kills and stuff, you know, where, like, the sight lines and stuff. But, like, with Advanced Warfare, all you had to do is double jump, and then all cover was erased and all your sight lines were changed, and it was quite the bizarre game overall. The best way to put it, you know what I mean? It's just quite the bizarre game. But that's kind of what, you know, hurt Advanced Warfare. But and, like, with Black Ops 3, what I've seen so far is that it does have some sort of, you know, quicker movement like here and there where you're kind of jumping and stuff, and but it's nothing to what Advanced Warfare is. From what I've heard and from what I've seen, it's more of a, and this is kind of what I thought they should have had in Advanced Warfare, more of a, like, less actual jumping, you know, like less height and then less quickness to it, but also have it to where it takes longer, quite a bit longer before you can do it again. Have it to where there's a long time between where you can jump or do like your special movement again. You know, there's got to be that balance there. With Advanced Warfare, it's like there was a little bit of time between where you could jump, but I mean, you could just be jumping, boosting, dodging. I mean, it was kind of ridiculous, you know, so it was kind of like that, but it for Black Ops 3, I think what'll be really cool is that their movement system is not too crazy, but there is some kind of movement system there, so that's cool. The wall running seems pretty cool. It seems like it's not too crazy. It's just kind of one of them cool things, like, you know, you can hop on the wall and might kill somebody, might not. It's not like it's not based around jumping and stuff. You know, jumping can kind of help you over an obstacle or something like that, but it's not like, you know, everybody's jumping all over the place and shooting everybody at the same time. It's not really, doesn't really work like that. You know, from what I've heard, it's more all your kills and actual gunfights happen, you know, on the ground level. So that's really awesome. I'm really excited about that. But so that's really good. But also, like I was saying, the time to kill really scares me, because from what I've seen, it looks pretty quick with Black Ops 3. It's a little bit scary to me. Like I'm saying, everything affects everything. So when your time to kill is so short, like I said, your guns become imbalanced. It becomes less about the actual skill and more about the gun itself when it's so less time to kill, which is not fun. I'd rather it be more about the skill, more so than the gun, but they've got to get their gun balance right. You know, they don't need to have, and it kind of scares me too that they're allowing so many attachments on one gun, because that's going to give the opportunity of making one gun, for instance, like a, you know, like a something like an AK-47 that's meant to be kind of really crazy shooting, not really accurate, but more so on the higher damage. But if you can put, you know, 8 different attachments on it and make it as accurate as like an M4, then you've got like a god gun all of a sudden, if that makes sense. You know, and if you put rapid fire on it, then all of a sudden you got like a Bal 27. I'm kind of scared of those kind of combinations, and I understand everybody has all the same amount of points to put into this or that, but at the same time, I just don't. There's nothing that's going to beat a god gun, you know, when you have so many certain attachments to one thing. I don't want somebody to find like just this perfect attachment set up to one gun that makes it way better than everything else. You know, I really don't want that to happen, but I've always thought that Treyarch's been pretty good at balancing, so I think it'll be okay. I think it'll be good. So, but I do hope that even if you're getting shot, you have a chance to do something, you know, like a slight chance, you know, not like I said, not like you can just sit there and be shot around in a circle and boost and shoot somebody. Like I want it to be to where when you're getting shot, you can get in those like duking matches. You remember, like, not super long duking matches, but just enough to where it's kind of fun. Like every once in a while you kind of start shooting somebody, then you get back behind cover, and then they shoot at you, and then they get behind cover, and it's kind of like a cat and mouse kind of game there, instead of it just being a point shoot kill. You know, that gets old to me, man. That point shoot kill kind of vibe, that just gets boring over time. I like getting in those real cool battles where you're like ducking behind cover and actually using cover, and this goes into my next point. Okay, the maps, and this has kind of been a trend with some of these newer Call of Duties. They've gotten so arcadey, and I understand a lot of people like that, but for me, I find that it just makes the maps feel kind of, all of them feel the same, because what they do is they make them have just 3 sight lines, 3 straight lines down the map, and they're pretty much the same exact layout overall. It's just kind of different stuff on the map, but the same layout, you know, same 3 lines, 3 lanes kind of thing. And I think it's cool to have some maps that are like 3-laned, really kind of more arcadey like that. But overall, I would rather there be, you know, some maps that have like maybe some different lanes, not straight down the middle, and kind of just different layouts of maps, you know, and it'll make them feel so much different. and also not having them so arcadey, like straightforward. You know, it seemed like Advanced Warfare, I don't ever remember actually hiding behind like cover in Advanced Warfare ever, because, well, first of all, you could just boost up and then cover disappeared, but just as far as like there even being cover was not really there. It was more of your straight line, just walls and stuff. It was almost like there was no cover. It was just walls, you know, and you're just running around and shooting, point and shooting. There's no, like, ducking behind cover and I know head glitching is a, like, really annoying thing and really kind of weird. Just that's why they can't make all of their cover, like, perfectly to where just your head's sticking out. They've kind of got to think about that part, but I like having some sort of cover, though. It makes it to where your map and it adds that whole nother element of skill level to where you can actually maneuver the map and move around and stuff, but it seemed like some of these newer Call of Duties, they've just not had any cover. It's just like so arcadey where it's just walk around and then everybody's got to be somewhere and then you're just pointing and shooting and killing, and that's kind of all you're doing. That's what I feel like. So, but I hope they get that kind of more right and that kind of thing. And yeah, it's just... I think it'll be pretty cool overall. It just, I think the whole, like, where you can fully customize your gun, like, paint on the gun and put decals and stuff, that's what I said from, like, day one. I can't believe it's taken them this long to put that in, but I'm glad it's there nevertheless. It's one of those things where... way back in the day, I was thinking, man, wouldn't that be cool, like on some of the, you know, car games where you can look at the car in full 3D and, like, paint it and put decals and stuff. I was like, wouldn't that be cool to do that on a gun in Call of Duty? And now they're finally bringing it, so... but that'll be really cool because you can have, like, Red Bull, you know, decaled guns. Holy crap, did you guys see that? I'm going to have a seizure or something from that right there. Oh, my goodness. But no, it had, like, just really cool, like, you could place your decals and stuff, and I thought that'd be really cool to have in a Call of Duty. So, and it seems like they're focusing more. They've got the whole where you pretty much build a gun from scratch. You know, like I said, you can have so many attachments, which is really cool that they're focusing on the customization aspect of it a lot, and that's always fun in a game like this. So I think all of that is really cool, and it'll be cool because you can, like, combine your actual camos with what you put on the gun with decals, so you can only actually, like, paint and put decals on certain parts of the gun, and then the rest of the gun is actually can be covered with certain your ordinary camos and stuff. So but see, camos, that's another one of those things that have kind of been ruined for me in the newer Call of Duties. Is instead of it just being a headshot thing, it's either turned into where either A, you could just buy it and then it defeated the whole purpose of a camo, because it wasn't like, oh, I earned this, I just bought this certain camo, you know what I mean? Or it was one of those things where it was like you had to do a certain thing, you know, like somebody, instead of just, like, being good with the gun and getting headshots, or, you know, you could always go for headshots, but it was cool back in the day where it was like over time you kind of accidentally got some camos here and there, but also you you could work for it as well, kind of sort of going for headshots. But I didn't like that where it was like you could do these certain like things to get a camo, you know, like, oh, shoot, like, lean down and shoot this guy, or get like, you know, whatever. They had all different kinds of challenges for certain camos, and it just didn't make sense because that kind of defeated the whole purpose of a camo to me. It's not supposed to be, it's just supposed to be like your straight up skill with the gun, and headshots are hard to get. So that when I, like, unlocked the blue tiger or the red tiger, it actually, like, meant something to me because it's hard to get those headshots, you know, and I knew across the board if somebody else had that on a gun, they got that many headshots with it. So it was, like, cool like that. So I really hope they go back to more of a basic camo level, and that's what I've said about the Call of Duties for a little while now, okay, a cold minute. They just need to go back to more of a basic, more of what we all loved in a Call of Duty. It seems like they're always trying to change and do this and that, and it's just, you can only change so much before you're, like, not even what you started on, you know. You're so far away from what you started on that it's not even the same game anymore. So I just want them to be careful, you know, overall with all of that, but also the zombies. Let me kind of get into that, and it's the same exact token, like like they've gotten so far away from what the original zombies, what we all originally loved. Like Black Ops 2, it was all this, you know, hop on this train and move here and do. It was more like a mission than it was just a survival. You know, zombies was meant to be survival, straight up. Like you're just surviving as many rounds as you can, and they had these little things like perk machines and this and that here and there, but that was a lot of fun. You know, it didn't take away from the main basic element of survival, and that was what we all loved about the original zombies. And then they got into like you know, it's more like a campaign mission than a zombies mode. So I hope they go back to more basic as far as zombies go. I just hope they get more back to the original feeling of it. And but it's okay if they have some, you know, zombie maps that are a little bit more objective based, but also give us quite a few zombie maps that are original, just straight up survival based, because that's what I like. So, but yeah, it should be pretty cool. I think all the guns and stuff will be cool in the game, and just the movement. Like I said, I don't think it's too sporadic or too crazy or something. So that's good. I feel like it'll be closer to the normal Call of Duties and stuff. So, but yeah, that dude totally just stole my kill right there. But anyways, I think it'll be cool. I hope the shotguns are a little bit more competitive than they have been, and I hope the assault rifles are not too crazy. I've learned that in some of the recent Call of Duties, where it's like, if you're not using an assault rifle, you're pretty much screwed. So I would rather there be more of just an overall balance, like every gun has a chance. You know, it's just like, it's kind of annoying when everybody and their grandmother's using an assault rifle. It kind of, I don't know, it's just kind of an annoying thing for me. They've got to give the assault rifles some sort of either just have them straight across the board balanced and not really good at anything, but what turns out to be in most of the games is they're good at everything. That's pretty much, instead of them being just decent or just like average at everything, they seem to be just good at everything. I don't know what the deal is, but with assault rifles, but they have to, I don't know who in Advanced Warfare thought that having 0 weapon sway on an assault rifle but having weapon sway on every other gun was appropriate. But for the love of, you know what, like, please put weapon sway in every gun, include at least with assault rifles. You know, if you're not going to put weapon sway on some guns, just at least put them on the assault rifles so that it balances it out. I don't know who thought of that, to just not have any weapon sway on an assault rifle that's already the most accurate, already the most range, the most damage besides like a sniper, but you know what I'm talking about. Like it can shoot pretty far. So but accuracy is usually top notch on an assault rifle, and so I didn't understand that at all. That was another thing that kind of really annoyed me of Advanced Warfare. But anyways, so other than that though, I feel like they'll get it pretty good. You know, it's just like I said, everything affects everything, and you just got to be really careful with the balancing. I know it's easier said than done just talking about balancing, but it's just, I'm glad they are having a beta so that they don't come out with a BAL or something right out of the gate. I mean, that was pretty ridiculous, man. I mean, like I said, I could have tested Advanced Warfare for like 1 or 2 hours, and I could have straight up told you that BAL did not need to be that powerful. And for some reason, after all the testing they did and everything, once the game was finally released, Advanced Warfare, oh, the BAL was there, and guess what? Everybody used it, and the most overpowered gun I've ever seen in my entire life. But anyways, I'm glad they are having a beta and kind of checking all that out just to make sure it's a little more balanced in the long run. But like I said, it's hard to balance a gun when your kill time's so low. So anyways, but I think it'll be pretty cool overall. I just hope the maps are kind of really different from each other themselves, and I hope there's enough maps, because there's nothing more annoying than playing on the same maps over and over and over. I feel like that's another thing that's kind of happened over time. They've just kind of put everything in DLC, and instead of having just a really good game right out of the gate, it seems like they've made it to where it's like a really just like cool game, but not enough maps, stuff like that. And then you got to wait for the maps. It's kind of weird. I just wish they had more maps overall, and different filling maps at that. But also, another thing I wanted to say is, with your actual semi-automatic guns, they've got to have those to where they kill in two to three shots, like maximum 2 to 3 shots with an actual semi-automatic weapon. Because if you have a gun that's fully auto that kills in 3 shots, and then you have a semi-automatic gun that kills in 3 shots, which one do you think is going to do better? And that's kind of how the BAL was, and the BAL, and then like, you know, semi-automatic guns inside of Advanced Warfare. It was like, what? You know, a semi-automatic versus a fully auto, but yet they kill in the same amount of bullets. That made no sense to me whatsoever. But anyways, just some things like that I hope they figure out and get right and stuff, but I think it'll be like a pretty cool game overall. So anyways, so that's pretty much it for this video. I just wanted to kind of explain some of my wants and definitely don't wants. It just seems like we've been through some hard times in Call of Duties. You know, I feel like they need to bring it back down. I know they're just trying to keep raising the notch up and up and up, but eventually you've got to realize that you got to bring it back down to more of a basic level, and I promise you people are going to love it because that's what they loved in the first place. So anyways, and obviously with the kill streaks, you know, you got to balance those out, not have too many crazy kill streaks. That can ruin a game real quick. So anyways, so I appreciate all you guys watching these videos, and I'll keep on making them. Thanks, guys.